topic to kick it off as a first afternoon session. Today we'll be talking about, or in this panel we'll be talking about esports explosion and the business of competitive gaming and betting. We have I would say, superstar lineup of panel speakers. I'll start from my left side. We have Pascal the legal expert on betting and everything in the US betting ecosystem. I'll let you introduce yourself, but it's kind of my short intro. Next to him we have Max Sebastianov, CEO at BetBazaar. Next to him we have Otto Boning, head of sales at DataBet. And on the complete left side we have Marek Suchar, managing director at OdinGG. Amazing. Guys, first of all, I would like to ask you for a quick introduction, if you can just very shortly what you do and what you do in the space.
Thank you very much, Andre. It's good to see you all. Some of you have heard me more than you care to. I'm really thrilled to be here. Bill Pascal III, affectionately known as BP3. You've heard enough about me introducing myself. I'm really excited about the space. And full disclosure, and I'm not saying it because they're here, what you need to know, my client is on the stage with me, who I adore and have known a long time. I've been working with them for about a year and a half now, OdinGG and Marek. We've known each other for quite some time, and we did this panel last year. So thank you for having me. Thank you to Hipter, and thank you for your kind introduction.
Max.
Thank you also to having me here. So I've spent the last 5 years trying to approach sportsbook operators, trying to sell esports product, trying to give this belief to sportsbook operators that this is the future of iGaming industry. Also, in addition to esports, we're providing different content, not only esports but regular sports events, data feed products. And now we step in the virtual space using AI, producing new games for the future audience.
And I'm Otto, representing DataBet, and been in the sports betting space now for several years, originally from odds feed world. Today again, 1 year and a half in with DataBet, and we're promoting heavily our esports product, of course, which is the most the product itself, and not only what's making, it's also the iframe itself. So yeah, I'm very glad to be here, very glad to be able to this.
Marek Suchar, co-founder and head of partnerships at OdinGG. We are the leading esports betting provider, essentially end-to-end when it comes to odds feeds, management, iframe, and everything in between. We work globally with the partners such as ESPN, Betano, Stake, Betway, Betson, DataBet. So happy to be here and happy to discuss the topic of esports.
Thank you very much. I, of course, forgot to introduce myself. So my name is Andrzej Sielani. I'm the sales director at Value of We, which is a Berlin-based agency working with emerging tech in marketing and connecting brands with esports, gaming, Web3, and any new tech that is coming up. Let's start with the first questions. I wanted to start with the overall market overview. We've all seen that the market was growing in the past years, but how do you see it today in 2025? When you look maybe compared to other sports, where do you feel we are on the path of esports becoming the next big thing that we heard last couple of years? Where do you feel we are today in 2025? Let's start with Marek.
The narrative is probably much more clear now because in COVID, of course, nothing was supposed to be played, so it was only esports. We see a significant growth from that period, which essentially remained. I believe that when it comes to esports, we are right now in esports and betting, because I guess this is mostly the topic. We're in a position where it is much more clear for many of the bookmakers that this is essentially a next big thing, not probably as it was promoted 5-10 years ago in terms of size. But at the same time, you have sportsbook where all the sportsbook are facing one major question, and that is that when it comes to the user base, it is essentially getting older and older. And unless you are looking at esports as something that can create those newcomers to you in terms of age, something that you can embrace, because these people, they will eventually bet on football, they will bet on basketball as well, but you get them through the door because of esports, because they're passion for Counter-Strike, for Dota, for League of Legends, and all of these disciplines. So where sportsbook are looking into is that many times this was the topic only about the esports, the handle on esports and all of that. It is not anymore. Many of the bookmakers that we work with, many of the prospects that we speak to and try to educate, is that whatever you imagine as the value of the bet on esports size, this can be easily doubled when you look at the sportbook section as well, because there is a significant cross-sell. For example, in Czech Republic, this is the case with TeamSport. When they are fans of Counter-Strike, they will still bet on ice hockey when the national team is playing. They will still bet on Champions League, so we have a cross-sell directly into the sportsbook. But on top of it, they play the casinos as well. You have few operators globally that are esports-centric, and they disclose their figures. And essentially, whatever you do on esports and sports together, you can then get from the casino perspective as well. So if you look at the value of the esports bettor, it is not just what he does on esports, this is quadruple to that.
Max, from your perspective, how do you see it?
I see the major problem even right now that if we analyze full market, sportsbook market, and see the value of esports in the full portfolio of sportsbook operator, it's still lower than 10% in average. And of course, there are few operators who can provide decent product, work with the audience, and this is the major point that also Mark touched. So, audience getting older, and what we will do in 10, 15, 20 years, what kind of product we can attract and provide to the new generation of bettors. Let's say not only Gen Z, but Alpha, right now. So it means that right now we have to invest to esports as a discipline, not only from the product side, just having good odds and good provider, decent provider, and especially with reliable data on it, with the possibility to trade, to provide MTS services, as the guys also providing. And of course the difference, to understand the difference between regular bettor and the esports bettor. What's important for regular bettor? They always stick to the scheduling of sports, waiting for the matches. They prefer more simple betting, like table format and so on. And the main motivation is profit. But for esports bettor, it's totally different. So they first of all need some engagement, absolutely new approach in terms of visuals, UI, UX, and the motivation is not a profit. It's a skill, it's community, it's engagement, and so on. And if to compare, for example, even these regular esports disciplines, they're complicated, so they're not so simple. Okay, Counter-Strike, it's pretty much, everyone knows about it and maybe played in Counter-Strike. But Dota 2, League of Legends, it's complicated game mechanics, so you need to come up with a structure, with the rules, with teams, characters, and so on. So that's why approach to this new audience must be different from the regular sports.
Makes sense. In the probably past few months, even years, we always see tournament after tournament that the viewership records are being broken, and we still see there is no ceiling, and it's bigger and bigger with each event. Also, do you see any relationship between the growing viewership of the events? Do you see that it's driven by particular titles and events in your case, or is it sort of across the board? Do you see some specific?
Yeah, and going back to the point that Max just made, the one trend we see already now, we saw it last month actually, is that we need more content. We need more official data content, more organized tournaments in esports. That's lacking right now. And the good trend that we see now is, for instance, that the Blast was entering the Dota 2 Slam 2, which had a good uplift, an uplift that we wouldn't have seen otherwise. So if we look like for like where we were in November, which was a really good month also for volume as well, we saw almost a really good, healthy revenue decline in February. That continues now with Dota 2 Slam 3 coming in May. So, that's just a quick example of things. We need more of this. We need much more of that content, actually. I know we can talk about products and widgets and pillars, and I'm sure we're going to touch on that too, but at the core, more official data, more organized content is absolutely key for the future.
Okay, thank you. Bill, I have a question for you with your field, regulatory environment. From my perspective, when I'm looking at it, it's never-ending development of changes and updates and modifications in the field. From your perspective, if you look back the last 12 months, let's say, from last year, what do you see as the main changes that you are working on and that operators should be aware of?
Yeah, the biggest challenge I have in this space is that I know, representing dozens of operators from across the globe in the US, they're hungry for content. So, for example, horse racing, I'm doing a lot of work in, I have for the last 20 years of my life. It's not a big event anymore in America. We used to have 206 racetracks, horse tracks. Now we're down to 91. It's aging out. It's basically older white men like me that go to horse tracks, except for maybe the Kentucky Derby or some other event in the US. But what we just introduced in America, and this is very similar to the esports experience, is what you have in Europe and throughout the globe in New Zealand, Malaysia, Australia, throughout LATAM and all of Europe, is fixed odds horse racing. So it's like a bet, not a sport, not a pooled bet, like in the pari-mutuel French total system. Why is that relevant? Because we've had to engage regulators to understand this is a value proposition for them in three regards. If they don't innovate and catch up in America with the rest of the world, horse racing is going to die. And it's a shame. It shouldn't die. It's a great sport. Regulators don't always have front of foot on issues like, if you look at a racetrack in America, 20 and 30-year-olds, if they go to the track, they're going to drink or listen to music. They're not actually going to bet on horse racing. That's the fault of the operators not marketing properly to that demographic group. The same applies to women. Women are always marketed to dress up nice at the horse track, or have a glass of champagne, or mint julep. But they're not marketed to say, hey, put a punt on it, give it a go. And when they do, they enjoy it. With esports, my frustration is twofold for the clients that I represent, including Odin GG, which is really good. It's a good client for a couple of reasons that the regulators and operators don't always know firsthand. Please permit me, I'm sorry to drag on. Making odds, like in horse racing, is very challenging in esports. And so if you're an operator and you think you're going to make your own odds without proper odds feeds from knowledgeable risk managers, you're really making a cataclysmic mistake. So I'm not only lobbying politicians and regulators, but I'm lobbying operators to get them to understand this is really good content for a younger generation, and it's a wonderful experience. The problem is the operators might grasp it, like Odin's impressed dozens of operators. They also have to put some muscle and capital into marketing it. Because just putting it out isn't going to result. It's not like, unless you're already in the esports world, and there's millions of people across the globe. Look at China, for example. But you have to market to put a bet on it. And that's difficult and challenging. It's got to be responsible. You have to have proper KYC. You have to have proper house rules and integrity. All those are already done in the esports world, but we have to do a better job, and I take responsibility for this, to impress upon the operators the value proposition and the regulators, because it's more tax revenue and it allows for a more sustainable gaming industry and take further market share away from the black market.
Thank you. I'll follow up with Mark on this question. You had quite a few market expansions behind you. Are there some takeaways or maybe strategies that operators looking into these types of expansions into new markets maybe can take away to not get burned when they go into new market? Are there some things that they should understand from the get-go based on your experience?
Not sure I can help with that one in specific. We are on B2B side, so we are fortunately lucky that operating anywhere but North America, we do that license free. So we work with Betway in UK, with Redsun in Sweden, with Tipsport in Czech Republic and Slovakia, with Etabet in Spain. We don't need a license as B2B. We work with ESPN in the US, and there we need to be licensed, so we have licenses already in New Jersey, Colorado, Arizona, West Virginia, and probably Bill can address some more. We already licensed in Ontario. So this is a painful process that you need to go through to address those markets. But unfortunately on the B2C side, all our clients are essentially regulated, but we don't have to have a license.
Can you touch a little bit on the US side? Because that I think is interesting from your perspective. Going there as a B2B, for example, there's still a lot of hurdles that you had to overcome. From your perspective, if you should summarize, like how was the experience expanding into US?
Bill, please cover your ears. US is tricky and challenging.
That's polite.
Not only you as a B2B provider have to have essentially licenses there to offer your services, not that your clients need to be licensed, and by licensing I mean that all the stakeholders essentially need to provide utility bills and bills of yours and your wives for the last 12 months, what did you do 10 years ago, whether you have a ticket from the speeding and all of that. But the tricky part is, even if you are licensed in that particular jurisdiction, that doesn't cover it yet. What does it mean is that if you look at our clients globally, essentially as soon as we are live with them, they can go live with all of our solutions instantly. With US, we have something that is called catalog, which means that unless that event is in the catalog, and there are multiple events in esports, this is PGL, ESL, Blast, Fissure, Yala, and we can continue. Unless this is in that catalog, you can, as a bookmaker, so as client of ours, you can essentially accept the bets on that. So we are working very closely with Bill and with our clients already to also establish in the catalog. But then you get into another pinhole, which is essentially, okay, who is essentially the guarantor of these leagues? Who runs these leagues? Who is the owner of these leagues? In the US it is easy. For American football, or as they call it football, which we call something else football, this is NFL. Then you have NBA. Then you have MLB. Then you have globally FIFA. You have UEFA. You go there and you are saying like, this is PGL, they are the tournament operator in esports. Okay, who is the governing body? Valve doesn't care. PGL is organizing that. We don't know. So you essentially need to go also through these loopholes and essentially addressing esports is a different beast. It works somehow differently. So just scratching the surface of your question.
Thank you. I think that's fascinating to see. Do you want to follow up with that?
If I may, because Mark did a great job and he was polite, I'm surprised he wasn't a little bit more bold. Listen, America...
I want to keep my license.
Yeah, there you go. So I'll say it. So let's take a state, which is interesting, very large population, has sports betting, has online gaming, one of the 7 states, Michigan, they don't have esports. Now, I would argue, so I was just brought on within the last 18 months, right? Some states forbid it. Lots of states just don't allow it because it's not regulated. And obviously, Marek and Vlass and the company want to be compliant, white label, licensed, legal, and all, and that's important for a whole host of reasons. But if you talk to most gaming regulators, they don't even know, they should come to something like this. They don't even know what the events are. And so they're struggling after having approved all the leagues and the NCAA were in the big, March Madness in America with the college basketball. But it takes a little educating before you can advocate. And I believe there's a great story to tell because it does involve more job creation. It does involve integrity, okay? There's concern that you can have more chances of match fixing in esports, but ask the question, we'll give you the answer. The house rules and integrity are there. We're working with a really good global company in the integrity space. Even though Odin GG can do their own integrity, they're trying to accelerate the conversation by using an integrity organization. I'm not here to sell that, but it's another client of mine who's really well known. So by the fact that Odin is using them, in addition to having someone like me on the team, adds further credibility. There needs to be, like there is with sport and online casino in America. I'll speak to that because I don't do esports outside the country like I do with other verticals. There needs to be a better collaborative effort. Odin can't be expected to be front foot on lobbying, but there's massive opportunity. I think, for example, I want somebody to laugh because you should, but it's not meant to be funny or cute. I think there's a better chance of moving the dial on esports in California than there is on sports betting. Remember, the sports betting industry is drafting FanDuel, all the tier ones, spent $500 million to run a campaign to legalize sports betting. You know what they got at the polls? 18%. That's political malpractice. So we have a lot of work to do. And let me give you one more example. The state of Tennessee. It's the only state that doesn't have what we call in the industry tethering. Tethering is a concept we brought over to get the retail casinos away from blocking us on iGaming. So in every other state except Tennessee, because Tennessee doesn't have casinos, you have to tether for sports betting with either a racetrack or a casino. And with sports betting, you have to do the same. There's skins. The state of Tennessee, for Odin to be licensed as a supplier, a B2B supplier, and it's hard to properly calculate what the revenue generation would be. Odin can do it within limits. It's $100,000 a year for a license. For a B2B supplier. I mean, it's insane. So there needs to be more work done to explain to regulators, you're only hurting yourself, your ability to create revenue. You're not monitoring it, because I guarantee you somebody in that state, if not thousands of people, are betting on esports in the black market. So that's work to do.
Yeah, definitely is a difficult topic. Moving from legal to technology, esports are inherently based on technology because it's computer games, it's people playing games against each other. When it comes to the customer experience and bettors or punters enjoying esports, what do you feel are the technological aspects that an operator should have to really fulfill those needs? Like I'm talking about live streaming, data analytics, stuff like that. Max, can you give us your opinion?
So of course, this is a major topic. I mean, in terms of product side, not only in terms of the reliable data, streaming, statistics, of course, and the speed of updating the odds during the game, it's really essential. And of course, UI and UX of the particular product for esports, you can't use the same scheme as for a regular bettor because you will fail in this case. And I believe that the major challenge is not only with the regulation federations, of course, but also with data suppliers, because the price for the data is insane sometimes, and of course it's like don't give you opportunity to provide the product and to grow it. And of course, for sportsbook operator, they will always probably choose the easiest way, or the way that they using regular sports, not to pay for this, or maybe do it later, or maybe next year. They don't want to pay this money. And in this case, the way to go directly to organizers or tournament organizers to get the reliable data using your internal trading team, risk management tools, everything to providing the better product is essential way. And in addition to regulatory and legislation, yesterday on the panel we discussed, as usual, major problems with legislation and regulatory. So I believe the main problem is that there is no people in this structure who understand the product. And probably the best way to create better rules is just to give a possibility for esports enthusiasts, esports gamers, or esports, someone who related to esports, who understand how this product looks like and what kind of rules we can create. This is the important thing. Without it, it just die. We can create rules and it will not work, so it will just gives much more opportunity for grey and black market.
Yeah, understand. Also, if you look at the technology around providing the best esports betting product, we have heard a lot about micro betting as well, or bet builders, stuff like that. From your perspective, looking at the esports betting as a product, what are the key drivers of engagement, and how would you build the ideal product for esports betting customers?
Well, I touched on 2 points. We can go first to the shiny kind of products, the bet builders, the widgets, and for that to be fully functional, really good for our operators. We need official data. We need the low latency. I'm not going to say no latency, but the official data. The streams need to be in line with the widgets when it comes to the pitch trackers for certain of these leagues or tournaments. Same goes with the bet builder. Everything needs to be fully functional. The reason for official data and why it's so important, as Max is also alluding to here, is that esports compared to classic sports is extremely unpredictable. Extremely unpredictable, especially like Dota 2 or Leagues of Legends. And we need that data to power our models so that we can have the tech internally. We then look at the game rules, we have the player behavior that we can see, we can connect these dots, which makes for a really, what we would say, as predictable product as possible. What does that actually mean for the end operators? Well, then we can set the prices, we can keep the markets open longer, it makes for a better experience. So there's huge opportunities and there's huge drive for technology within esports. It's essential for the product, but it also bumps up the cost for us, audio and data bet, and so on and so forth, when it comes to dealing with this product as a whole. The MTS, as we talked about, the risk management functions, the trading, and our models. It's a costly product, and if the data cost is then also very high on top of that, guess what? It's going to be very hard to convince the mid-tier D2C that for you to bump your esports, which is currently number 10 on the list, to make that number 4 on your sportsbook, not only do you need to invest, in the sponsorship and the marketing budget, you need an equally big bag of money probably to get the premium product from Odin or DataBet. So there's a mindset here that you can't just go out and seek a simple solution for esports. You actually have to go the whole way to make it work. And I think that's,
Thank you. Mark, I've seen in the past months you've been also involved as Odin in sponsorships, or you have involved your brand in terms of when someone is looking for a Counter-Strike with PGL, for example, they will see Odin logo there. How do you think operators, when they are looking to, I want to get involved into esports more from a marketing perspective, what would you recommend them very simply? What would be the key priorities to look at?
Excellent question. Whatever you think would work because of your sports betting experience, don't think it would work in esports as well. We've got multiple clients in the past. We still have multiple clients right now, and many of them are looking at esports in a way would work for me in sports would work for me for esports as well. Many of them relied on traditional marketing agencies that help them with the marketing spend. And we've seen many of them fails, like burning literally millions down the drain, because esports is different. It is a different beast. You shouldn't just essentially put your logo on the jersey and hope for the best. We acquired a marketing agency that worked with multiple global operators such as even 1xBet, even GGBet, as GG, and what we've seen is that you have multiple channels how to work with the esports audience. It goes across the tournament, it goes across the teams, it goes across the influencers. One thing that you should definitely focus on is you should stay and stick around. You should speak the esports language. It is not being visible for a month and then disappear and hoping essentially you will be known. It is more investing slowly, steadily, and building the brand there, building it for multiple channels so you are noticeable. And people will start noticing you that essentially you do care about esports, and they can start caring about you as well. Many things what we've seen in the past, and we are seeing even nowadays, when we speak to sportsbook, and this is for us the chicken egg problem. Esports is very small in our portfolio. It is not making any money. Why should we even care? Well, most probably you have an outdated product which is not catering to the esports audience, and you don't talk to them. If you don't talk to them, if you do not care about them, they don't care about you at all. So unless you essentially fix these two issues, so the product and how you communicate with the community, you are not going to go anywhere.
Thank you. I can add to that a specific example. I have seen a tier 1 operator spending, it was a higher six-figure sponsorship on a tournament, a global tournament, and only after spending the money and starting the partnership, they realized with them they had 2 licenses in Peru and Brazil, and it was a global tournament. And when we asked them how do you plan to grab the attention that you now have from the global tournament into 2 markets, they didn't have an idea. Like that, there was no plan. So they only realized after they spent the money that 90% of that will basically go nowhere because they cannot grab the interest there. So this is happening, and it's basically an education that is needed.
I'll just follow up on that one. This is why crypto books are extremely successful, and also why esports is extremely good opportunity for global bookmakers that operate in multiple jurisdictions, because this is a global sport. If you are a local team sport, they are a client, but they are not going to sponsor PGO, they are not going to sponsor ESL, because you will be sending 95% of your traffic that will be hitting your web page essentially somewhere else. You will be denying them because they are not in Czech Republic or Slovakia. That's why crypto books and global brands are most successful when it comes to monetizing their esports, because they can be globally visible, but at the same time monetize globally.
Thank you. Also, you mentioned basically when you come to new customers and you need to convince them to move, esports currently are number 8, 9 for them. It could move to number 3. That's basically education for them. How do you approach this basically? How do you approach to education, and what would you say is the key for operators to understand and being able to say, okay, this makes sense, I should invest?
It's going back to again understand what they're about to embark on. It's understanding the quality and the manual training that is behind it, because again, let's face it, we still use a lot of the manual work within esports because of its fast pace, the complexity of esports in general, put it that way. To understand that they have a provider that will have their back. It comes back again to the margin, the performance, month after month, and again, I'm a big believer, as you, Mark, as well, when it comes to the MTS side of things. Let us do what we do best, and really, let us trade it for you. So there's a big education piece, of course, whether it's a platform conversation or if it's an end operator. It's around the quality, what could be happening. We go through obviously the performance, the margins, the content itself, and we have a very bespoke approach to that with each operator or platform provider. But it's a journey right now. We talked about regulated market as well. How do we then commercially structure these deals? Do we need to look at the normal old classic GGRs, or in certain legalized markets? Should we do more on the NGR side to help operators? Of course we should. So we need to be flexible, we need to be sensible, and we need to work closer together as a whole, because we sit under this ecosystem together. Whether we are competitors, whether we work with our suppliers of raw data, there needs to be some sensible pricing here. So there's at least the education piece, but also a price point where the operator feels they can afford it. Those two things needs to come hand in hand. And it's a journey.
And Max, from your perspective?
Yeah, I just want to add a little bit, because the sales of esports, it's a really difficult challenge. I mean, first of all, about the education. The sportsbook operator needs to understand what they have right now. And usually, for example, when you ask any question, okay, how much money you generate on esports right now? Yeah, it's from 0 to 2%. It's too little. So for them, this investment doesn't seem like valuable, because they don't generate enough money. From other perspective, they need to analyze existing audience. So, okay, do I have audience like from 18 to 34, which related pretty much to the esports audience, or I have, for example, regular sports better, and I need to attract. So in this case, I need to change my product first of all, and it's also investment. I need to put money to marketing with multiple channels marketing. I need to acquire some sponsorship. It's also, and all these expenses, it's just they need to invest now, and they can't realize, okay, when this money comes to me back. And this is really challenging idea. But of course, I believe that all of us, when we're talking with sportsbook operators, we try to understand and to create this vision. Because esports, it's more about the vision, about the future. And the main question, okay, where you see your sportsbook in competitive space in 10, 15 years? What will you do next? How you will compete in this sphere?
Thank you. Before the last question, because we are nearing the end, I wanted to ask if anyone from the audience has any question for the panel speakers. If not, then I would go to the last question, which is, could you share, we talked about last 12 months, let's say, now looking the other way, for the next 12, 24 months, what do you feel is the either biggest trend or biggest challenge that there will be ahead of us? Bill, if you can start.
Yeah. I don't know how many of you follow American football, the NFL, but there was a great player. I'm a New York Giants fan, so I've been a little lonely lately. They're terrible, and they're going to continue to be terrible. But there was a player who played for the Miami Dolphins, who's very well known, Dan Marino. And I used to play a lot of golf, 100 rounds a year. Now I play a lot less because of my travels. I played golf with Dan on a very great course overlooking the New York skyline called Bayonne National Golf Club. And in the middle of the round, I didn't know what he was going to ask me. And there's a point to this story, which is very important to this industry. Dan Marino said to me, Bill, by the way, I have Marino vodka. You have to taste it. It's the best vodka in the world. And I've been across the world and I've had great vodkas. I said to myself, this vodka can't be that great. So we got off the course, we're having lunch. He kicked my butt on the golf course. He's a very good athlete. He said, so Bill, I need your help. I need to get licensed. I need to be able to distribute. I said, Dan, don't waste your time. He goes, no, I got a case of the vodka in the car. I'll give it to you. It's wonderful. He said, I don't care how good or bad your vodka is. Unless you have tens of millions of dollars to market it, it's a waste of time and a fool's errand. Why? Do you know what the number one rum in the world is? Bacardi rum. There are better rums, but it's the number one selling rum because they spend north of $100 million a year marketing their rum. Okay? How is that applicable to this? The first piece of legislation I testified on, I want to keep the state out because then you'll be able to put two and two together and I'll get in trouble. But the members of the committee, this was a Senate committee in a substantial state, were talking about regulating esports and allowing betting on it. You know what their first question was? We didn't know there were scholarships in esports to college. Okay, that's great. I didn't know that 10 years ago either, but now I do. They were concerned about 16, 17, 18, 19-year-olds playing esports, right? And people betting on it. So did you ever watch tennis or baseball? There's dozens of athletes under the age of 21. That lies with us. There is an American Esports Association against lobbying and betting on esports. So we're not only fighting against ignorance and regulatory escape and operator lack of interest, we're fighting against ourselves. So we should organize, like I've tried to do with sports betting, and we've done it, and with iGaming, and we've done it, and with horse racing, and we've done it. We should organize an association that not only promotes the game, but also promotes the importance for the operators, the regulators, and the consumer to be able to put a punt on it. And we have a lot of work to do in that regard.
Thank you. Max, from your perspective, any challenge or trend that you see upcoming?
I can't beat the stories, Bill, but okay. So what I say that there is still a lot of challenges, but esports, it's a future. It's already here, and I believe that the best approach is collaboration. First of all, inside our industry, with all companies who are providing this content, who has technology, and we can provide this product to end consumers. But we need to work together in this. Educate sportsbook operators, providing some insights, helping them to understand the value, helping even with the product. If they can't understand, so we can help with that. And additionally, probably what I see that it's probably will be too challenging way, but working directly with publishers. And probably right now we have only major two publishers right now, but maybe in the future it will be a possibility somehow to connect to them. And of course it will be related to integrity, for sure, to regulatory, to some laws and so on, but the process should be really transparent and easy to go. So if we want to increase the revenue from esports, we need to provide decent product, reliable data, and good price for it, at least to try to start with something.
Makes sense. Otto?
Yeah, just follow your sentence really literally. And with that said, also to have more content, organized tournaments being produced, so there is integrity, because there are integrity concerns always within esports. So we need more content, we need more of the good stuff, because right now it's on the lower level compared to other sports. That's not a question about it. So we want to see, the 5, 6, 7,000 events a month, official stuff, and then we can add, blend in, mix in the medium good stuff. Today it is not, we saw just now Jam and Fair together, I think we had just over 3,000 official events. It should be the double, it should be triple, So that's what I see is the challenge, to get more organized events, and for that to happen, obviously, it is a cycle. Operators need to spend, as Mike saying, as we said earlier, we need to educate, we need to get products in there, we need to have more content, and the wheel needs to turn. So yeah, that is a challenge.
Thank you. And Mark, from your perspective?
Yeah, already working on that, literally. Have you ever gone to like a sports book and essentially tap the tab and there will be the tab of ball sports? I doubt that. And similarly, as we do not refer to ball sports as football, volleyball, basketball, and all of them are played with balls, similar at some point in time in the upcoming 2 to 3 years, I don't believe, we will still refer to esports as a category, but there are already bookmakers where you go to and you will not see table tennis, football, esports, volleyball, but you already see football, ice hockey, Dota 2, Counter-Strike, League of Legends. And this is what we will see much more in the future, that if you look backwards in the upcoming 10 to 15 years, what were the new sports that you are aware of? F1 is growing because of Netflix, there is more MMA coming up, but they've been around anyway. There is paddle probably, having its ups and downs, but that's it. In esports, Valorant was not a thing 4 years ago because it didn't exist. Then you have Mobile Legends growing, then you have Free Fire, PUBG Mobile. You have the titles that we, from our perspective of Europe, are not even aware of, but they have high viewerships than Counter-Strike or Dota 2 or League of Legends these days. And this is where the world is growing and going, that essentially esports is here to stay. We'll be just speaking about much more titles with much more engagement, and there will definitely the esports that we don't even know about yet, because they didn't even become a thing as a game. Perfect.
I think it would be nice if we meet here next year again to see how much of these trends and challenges were either tackled or they happen. Because I feel we could spend another hour talking about this, and it's a super interesting topic. So thank you very much to all of you. I really enjoyed listening to your insights, and the audience did as well. But we are out of time, so thank you very much, and thank you for the attention.